Keto and crime, keto and crime. We uncover the grime on keto and crime. Keto and crime, keto and crime. Now is the time for keto and crime.
Hey everyone, Tracy here from Keto and Crime. Thank you so much to every single one of my patrons and channel members. You make this possible. And you're one of the reasons I do this. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And if I haven't said it before, thank you. I'll sing it. Thank you. Thank you for hanging in there with me and letting me geek out, not making fun of me like a lot of other people do, because I like weird stuff about crime and dark history. Thanks, everyone. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Keto and Crime. As part of my continuing series on the ancient Catholic Church, or the Roman Catholic Church, we are finishing out antiquity with Caligula. Now, okay, this one I'll admit is just for fun, because Caligula, I mean, Nero was the main persecutor of the Christians. We've already done him, but we are going to talk about his uncle today. Caligula, who is just as nuts, if not more nuts than Nero. The thing is, he only ruled for 3.5 years, so he didn't really have a chance to do a whole lot of damage like Nero did. But we're also going to talk about the 1979 hedonistic spectacle that was the Caligula movie. And with it, I have one of my dearest friends, Jim Hall. Y'all love him, from Atheist Edge, and he's also a fan of the movie. And we're going to talk about both the real Caligula and the movie. So it's going to be a fun time. So welcome, Jim.
Thanks for having me once again. It's going to be hard to top some of the ones we've done before, but I think this might do it. So you just said this. So this is part of a bigger series that you're doing on the Catholic Church. Mm-hmm. So you talked about the persecution of I wish I could have been part of that. I'm going to go back and watch those. But did you mention in the earlier ones, the early church fathers really played up being persecuted way more than they actually were?
Yes.
It really, statistically, they were not really messed with.
No, the major persecution of the Christians really started under Nero, because he used them as a scapegoat for the burning of Rome. And he was the fifth emperor of the 𝐤𝐿-𝐾𝐨 line, or the line that came from Julius Caesar and Augustus Caesar. He was the fifth of those emperors. So that's when it started. Christianity had been around a long time, and it wasn't until that point that they really turned up the persecution. And after that, it kind of died off, and it didn't happen again until almost the fall of the Roman Empire, when it split into East and West. So yes, the whole persecution was really put up.
That's good.
Well, I'm not even sure if what I'm talking about is the Catholic Church. I mean, it's early Christianity, but the Catholics claim all that. I've said that in a lot of videos.
Anything from the apostle, from Peter to Martin Luther, I consider Catholicism. Yeah. They won, even though the early church, there was a lot of competitors. The Gnostics, the Cainites. There was a lot of Christian sects that didn't make the cut.
Yeah,
but the one that survived, I call Catholic.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the final series in antiquity. From this, I'm moving into the Dark Ages, which is where we really start to see the Catholic Church as we know it today take shape. So after this, I will be fully into the Dark Ages. But there were so many requests for Caligula, even though he really doesn't have a whole lot to do with the Catholic Church. But we're still gonna have.
What was the time period? It was after Jesus was already dead when he reigned, right? But not long after.
Correct. Jesus was crucified during the reign of Augustus Caesar, who was the very first Roman emperor. He was Julius Caesar's adopted son.
What about Tiberius?
Tiberius was Augustus Caesar's successor, was an adopted nephew.
Makes sense. Yep. Yeah.
And then Caligula succeeded Tiberius, and then Nero succeeded Caligula. And then
in the movie, that's who Malcolm McDowell is prying the ring out
Peter
of his dead. That was Tiberius.
Yep.
Okay,
Tiberius
his grandfather.
Caesar.
Yeah. All right.
Wasn't
got
really
it.
his grandfather. It was a nephew. It was a nephew. They mixed it up a little bit. But
Yeah.
honestly, it's like I told my viewers, the Roman emperors are so muddled because they didn't. It wasn't like succession like you see with a lot of monarchy where it passing to a child. It was They would often adopt children of prominent military people to win popularity with people, and then they would become like none of these Julian Claudian emperors, which is where Caligula comes from. It was a straight succession. Like Julius Caesar, he adopted Octavian, who became Augustus Caesar, was his nephew. And then Augustus adopted Tiberius, who was his third wife's son, and ended up succeeding him. And then Caligula was Tiberius's brother's child, and then Claudius, who came after Caligula right before Nero, was like their idiot brother. That's an interesting story. Remember, Claudio's in the movie is just kind of the idiot that lives on the island with Tiberius.
He's the one that, well, we don't, can we spoil alert already this
Yeah,
early into
there's
it?
lots of
Is he the one
spoiler
that, yeah, after they whack, I keep wanting to say Gaius. Caligula wanted to go by the name Gaius Caesar because I guess Caligula is kind of, it's a kid name. It means like little sandals or something.
Yeah, Caligula means little sandal. He was named because his father was Germanicus, who was this very well-known military commander, and he grew up in military camps and would dress up as a little Roman soldier, and so the men would call him Caligula
when he was little.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. And he paraded him around the actual Roman soldiers kind of as a mascot, right?
Yep, he was a mascot.
Yep.
Until his father was killed by Tiberius, or supposedly.
Well, it seems like the Roman line of succession, you could have a firstborn male in the line of succession, but if the Caesar did not find him worthy, he could just adopt someone from anywhere.
Yeah, correct. A lot of times they adopted military commanders or sons of military commanders, nephews, stepchildren, if they didn't find that their son was worthy of the throne.
And Caligula had about 17 moms, and as soon as Tiberius died, he said he just married he married all his moms right off. That's the first thing he did.
And he also loved to have incest with all of his sisters but one, who would end up being Nero's mother. But we'll talk about that when we get into that.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
No.
And if you hope that this is going to be monetized, don't even try, Tracy, because it ain't gonna happen. Because it's gonna get graphic.
Oh, we're just gonna have fun with it. So spoiler alert. And if you have sensitive ears, don't watch this.
Yes.
And you cannot find this movie on streaming anywhere, as far as I know. You have to order either the Blu-ray.
I had to buy it.
Yeah,
I had to buy it. This is the uncut, uncensored, extended edition, like an extra 135 minutes. And all that extra 135 minutes is what made it originally X-rated. Mm-hmm. I guess when I saw it as a teenager, I remember it being hard R. And it was shocking to me at the time, but that was early 80s. That extra 135 minutes, I told my wife, I was like, I don't think they just called it X-rated because those are the times. I think it's just going to be hard R. Nope. This was straight up. Because this is whack material right here.
Who produced this film? Penthouse magazine. Yeah.
Yep.
And the Italian writer-director also did very sexually graphic films in Italy, particularly with a lot of homosexual content. Which is where you get a lot of that.
Before I forget, so I got my Clockwork Orange shirt on, and I got my Clockwork Orange here too. So of course, and it's so cool. I'm glad you had me rewatch this because I'm a huge Malcolm McDowell fan. This is my third favorite movie of all time.
Yep.
And so really, he's kind of a one-trick pony. He plays the same type of character in everything he does, but he's good at it.
Oh, he does. Yeah. And rumor has it that they had to cut a lot of the man-on-man stuff out of the original movie because he didn't want to do it. And I get that. I get that. I really do.
Well, if you're
because a lot of the extras were Penthouse employees. They were pornographers. So you had these orgies going on in the background that were like porn actors getting it on.
there was a lot of homosexuality, and I can imagine for late 70s, early 80s, people watching that, it's different than now. It's way more accepted now.
Yeah.
But back then, I mean, a good chunk of this film is gay porn.
Yep. Because traditionally, Roman aristocracy were bisexual, pansexual, however you want to term that. They had both male and female lovers. They married a woman, but yet they often had young boys that they took as lovers, or even older men. I mean, you can't really put a sexuality on any of the Roman emperors. I mean, that's just how they rolled.
I don't want to, you dictate how the show's going, but I'm just erupting. I took 2 pages of notes. So, but you tell me the direction you want to go, and I'll add to it.
All right.
This is your show.
I think what I'd like to do is just talk about the real Caligula.
Oh, okay.
A little bit, so everybody knows. I did talk about him a little bit in my video on Nero, but I think just having to understand the real Caligula will help us understand this movie.
Before you start off, I know some people are only going to watch the first 5 minutes or so of this video. Some do. I started a new channel, and it's shameless plug. It's called Disc Oriented, DISC, Disc Oriented. It's a play on disoriented, but it's disc golf. It's a second channel. It's only got like 15 subscribers. If you guys could do me a favor, go over to Disc Oriented. There's going to be a video added tomorrow, and that'll make 4 total videos. So we're just starting out. If you could go over there and give me a boost, I'd really appreciate it. Okay.
Absolutely. Go over there, please. Absolutely. Well, all right.
The real Gaius Caesar, the real Caligula.
All right.
What do I have on him? Oh yeah. So he didn't like the name Caligula because it was like a pet name when he was a little kid.
It was a mascot's
Little Sandals.
name. Yeah.
And his biological sister called him that. She was the only one that could get away with saying it. Anyone else, you'd be put to death for saying it, right?
Right. Well, one of his sisters. He didn't have such a great relationship with a couple of his sisters. But Caligula was born August 31st between 12 and 24. Well, excuse me. He was born 31 August. What's a good way of saying this?
On the cusp. On the cusp.
His birth date is disputed. It has been quoted as either August 12th or January 24th of 41 AD or a Common Era. And his birth name was Gaius Caesar Augustus Germanicus. That was his birth name. But we know him as Caligula because he was the son of a popular Roman general named Germanicus. And his mother was Augustus Caesar's, the first Roman emperor's granddaughter. She was known as Agrippa the Elder. He was born in a military camp, grew up in a military camp, dressed like a little Roman soldier. The little shoes that Roman soldiers wore were called caligs. So he got the name Caligula from that. Okay. And he was part of the Julian-Claudian dynasty, which is the one that takes their succession from Julius Caesar, who was the dictator of Rome, and Augustus Caesar, who was the first Roman emperor. After Augustus Caesar died, he passed the throne to his stepson, Tiberius, who then was related to Caligula through his father. He was his father's uncle, so he was Caligula's great uncle. And one of the first things that Tiberius did, Tiberius was pretty much a tyrant himself, a hedonist tyrant himself. He pretty much wiped out any of the aristocracy that he thought was a threat to him taking the throne. And that included Germanicus, who was hugely popular with the people. He actually had him poisoned by a Roman governor in Syria. So, and then he exiled the rest of his family, including Caligula, his sisters, his brothers, and his mother, Agrippa the Elder, pretty much exiled them and would eventually kill both one of his sisters and his brother. But for some reason, he liked little Caligula and kind of took him under his wing and pretty much brought him to live with him on his little private island, which is
it's not Sicily. What was the island? It's off the coast of Italy somewhere.
It is, goodness, if
Not
you hadn't asked me, I could
Sicily.
have told you.
Dog, I couldn't remember.
Oh, good. It starts with
Capri?
a starts with Capri. It starts with the
It
C.
is Capri. Okay.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, and that's still there. Oh, and I keep butting in. I'm so sorry, but
Oh
one of
no.
the most valuable artifacts from the Roman era, they still have Caligula's actual sandals.
Yep.
They still exist in the museum right now.
Right. Absolutely. I
Yeah.
actually watched a documentary where a historian from Cambridge was walking through all these ancient and was pointing out a lot of things from the Caligulan. He only ruled 3.5
Dynasty.
years, but yet we
Yeah.
remember him today just because of his behavior. But a lot of the artifacts are from his reign.
Well, Tiberius was just as bad. He's the one that taught Caligula how to rule like that, right?
Yeah.
Before he died. And I think he died of syphilis, Tiberius did. He was
He
all
did.
just jacked up, if
he
the
was-
movie's true.
No, he did have early stage venereal disease. They didn't
Yeah.
talk about exactly which one it was, but some people say he died of disease. Some people say that Caligula smothered him in his sleep. Other people say that he had the captain of the royal guard, the Praetorian Guard, smother him. But from what we understand, Caligula had a love-hate relationship with his uncle, his great uncle, because of course he hated him for supposedly murdering his father, exiling his mother and his sisters, but he taught Caligula how to be hedonistic, kind of a sexual deviant. He was a sexual deviant even for Roman standards, and taught him how to rule and to rule by the sword. And so when Tiberius died in 37 CE or AD, Caligula succeeded him as emperor and immediately had Germanus, who was Tiberius's grandson, who was supposed to be a co-emperor with Caligula, had him killed to remove all threats to his reign. As we know, he had an affair with one of his sisters,
who in the movie
uh-huh.
is played by, I forget her name, but
I forget her name.
do you suspect? Maybe that's why it's so hard to get this movie. It's not available on streaming. You basically have to buy it on the underground. It took a devil of a time me trying to get it shipped, but I want to think, just by looking at some of those actresses, they were not 18. A few of them.
Probably. I think Helen Mirren was, who played Caligula's wife,
Yeah.
but I don't know about the other girl. A lot of them looked like they were right on the cusp.
Yes.
And it might have been filmed in a state where the age of consent is 16 or 17. But
and in the movie Tiberius, Caligula had that general strangle him, but Tiberius was already on his deathbed.
Right, he was 77
I guess he got
years
impatient.
old. Yeah.
What was it?
He was 77 years old, so he was on his way out.
Yeah, he was. Well, in the movie, he was on his deathbed, and Caligula just got impatient. He couldn't wait a couple more days, it seemed.
Yeah, just kill him.
And so he had his general strangle him. Yeah, I don't know if that's true though.
They say that Caligula has killed him either by smothering himself or having the captain of the guard do it, or, of course, the captain of the guard is going to do it because you know this guy's going to be the next emperor. So of course you're going to do what he says.
Yeah.
Now he had an affair with one of his sisters, Julia Drusilla, and also had two other sisters, Agrippina the Younger, who would be the mother of Nero, and Julia Livilla. And he had two brothers, Nero and Drusus, who were both killed by Tiberius. Another reason he hated the old man. But he himself would end up exiling Agrippina the Younger, his other sister, and her husband to an island for fear that they were about to turn on him. So he did exile them, and Nero was born in exile. So just a very messed up family.
Well, if the movie's, hold up, you got to cut this part out. Damn it, I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
If the movie holds up to historical accuracy, there was a couple times in the movie where Caligula was really in fear that he was being sent to that island to his death, that Tiberius was going to off him. And a couple times through the movie, it looked, I don't know, maybe that was part of this, just they were playing it up for the story, but it looked like Tiberius was going to kill him a couple times.
Yeah, absolutely. He was subjected to Advent hostility and torture while he was there. He was sexually molested. He was beaten. He was definitely verbally and emotionally abused. So he didn't have a great upbringing. And one of the first things he did after killing off his rival to the throne, who was Tiberius's grandson, he brought back the ashes of his mother and the brother that Tiberius had killed and entombed them in the Augustan tomb there in
the underground little
Right. So that's one of the first things he did. He would eventually in October of 37, which 37 AD or CE, he was poisoned, many people say, or fell seriously ill. Prior to this, he was actually a good ruler. He wanted to do what the people wanted. He was very much a man of the people. He did a great job. But after that poisoning, it could be said he brought some demons back with him, and that's when he really turned dark for the remainder of his reign. He really went dark. And that's when he went on slaughtering other aristocracy. He was slaughtering anybody that looked at him wrong, pretty much went into the hedonistic lifestyle. All the time having an affair with his younger sister until she died of a fever that she had nursed him back to health from. He did fall in love with an older woman named 𝐸𝐸, who was portrayed by Helen Mirren in the film, who was, I'm hesitant to call her a prostitute. I don't know if she was, but some people have said she was very sexually experienced. Now, I don't know if she was a prostitute, but he did end up having a daughter with her that he named after his sister.
When he went into this like bathhouse, and Helen Mirren was in charge of all these. It was almost like she was the madam, and these were prostitutes. Right. They're swimming. Remember, they're swimming in the pool. They're in that spa area. Right. And I wonder. Who was supposed to play Caligula before Malcolm McDowell, the original choice?
I did not know.
Jack Nicholson. Can you imagine a young Jack Nicholson?
That makes sense because Penthouse did other movies. Chinatown was theirs, and it's a classic, and Jack Nicholson was in that. So that makes sense.
And I'm thinking, how would that have changed his career? It might have affected it really negatively because this was basically porn. And then, but I think about Helen Mirren, it didn't affect her career at all.
Oh, she's Dame Helen Mirren.
Exactly. She's knighted.
Yeah, and she's one of the few actors associated with this movie that still talks about it fondly. She said she had a great time making this movie.
Well, the only time that she said she was really uncomfortable is when no one else was naked. When she was the only one nude in the scene, she felt weird. And then there were scenes where it was the opposite. Everyone was naked and she was clothed, and she said she felt even more weird.
Yeah.
But in the movie, see, there's so much flashing around, and that extra 135 minutes. If you just watch the R-rated, you're going to get the whole movie. That extra 135 minutes in the uncensored, it's just gratuitous porn. So it does nothing to do with the storyline, which, I mean, any other movie, I would say, why put that in there? That's just gratuitous, why? But for this storyline, the more the better. I mean, it really plays up the Caligula image. Yeah.
And so he married 𝐸𝐸, who was possibly a sex worker, had a daughter with her that he named after his real love, his sister, Drusilla, who died. And then 4 years later, in 41 AD CE, the people having enough of his cruelty, his own Praetorian Guard murdered him, assassinated him outside gladiator games, and then went to the palace. That's one thing that's different from the movie. They killed, spoiler alert, he dies. They kill the entire family, him, his wife, and his daughter outside these gladiator games. But in reality, they kill him, and then they go to the palace and wipe out his wife and daughter.
Close enough.
Then the only person from the whole family that was left was dumb idiot Uncle Claudius, who was his father's brother. He had been spared by Tiberius because they all thought he was a drooling idiot. Caligula had spared him for the same reason, but he ended up succeeding him as emperor, and actually was a pretty decent emperor. the one that everybody considered a bumbling idiot was actually a pretty
Well,
decent emperor.
he probably had to just listen to his advisors, and the Senate probably loved him because he was easy to control.
Exactly. The Praetorian Guard propped him up as emperor because they could control it.
Yeah.
So, and that's
what was I
the
saying?
real life Caligula.
So Helen Mirren, see, all the sex scenes kind of blend together. Does she actually, oh, she's in it, she's full frontal nudity in it, but was she involved in any of the actual graphic porn sequences? I forget. Did
I
she
think
actually
they used body doubles for
okay.
a lot of that. I think they did, but I know she was full nudity. She touched people that were full nudity.
Yeah.
Like I said, she's one of the few, including 𝐸𝐷owell, that speak fondly of this film.
Yeah.
I mean, they knew I think they had to know what they were. Well, maybe not, because as I said, Penthouse had also done Chinatown, which was a well-regarded classic movie. And then, they have an opportunity they probably figured it was going to be somewhere on the level of Chinatown, but.
Well, this had 4,000 cast extras. The budget was outrageous. They were thinking this was going to be the next Citizen Kane. That's what they say in the behind the scenes. They thought it was going to be this huge Academy Award winning. I don't know what made them think that. They had to have known they were going to show. It's called on the front cover, the most controversial film of all time. I don't know how they thought it was going to win awards. Sylvester Stallone was in a porno once, way back when. It was called
Really?
Party at Kitty and Studs. If you guys want to look it up, yeah, he does a full on bathtub sex scene.
Nice. Hey, y'all, I'm a liberated woman. I like I like adult film, but I like adult film that has a story. You don't find that anymore.
This definitely, once I saw that this has full penetration. This is full on. People are finishing. It's like it is a porn.
They had porn actors in the background. I mean, these were all Penthouse.
Yeah.
And Penthouse did porn as well as the nudie mags. They had full on porn actors as extras, and they were just doing their normal thing in the background.
At first, I thought, "Oh no, what is this? What has Tracy got me into?" And then, multiple times throughout the movie, even with all that sex, I'm thinking, this movie still holds up. This is a good movie. The storyline kept me compelled all the way through.
Yeah, it's a good movie, and you've got great actors. You've got Dame Helen Mirren, you've got Peter O'Toole, you've got Malcolm McDowell. You've got so many great actors in this, and it's very bougie too. I mean, it's kind of an art house film / porn / indie film, and it's really good. And if you like historical dramas, if you like what they call blood and sand movies, stories about Rome, you will like this. As long as you're not offended by sex, you will like
Spartacus.
Spartacus,
which
had so much homoeroticism in it. I'm not even going to go there. But
at least this movie is blatant about it. I mean, that one was just implied all the way through.
Exactly. So if you like Spartacus, you like The Robe, you like Rome, Spartacus, Blood and Sand, you like anything about Rome, you will like this.
Yep.
And they actually made a Caligula 2 and a Caligula 3. I don't understand how they could do that, but they did. I have not seen them. I'm afraid they're just going to be
straight. No, exactly. It's no story. It can't have a storyline. It's just going to be two. Yeah, exactly. Two more pornos. If you
wanted to go on and do Nero. Nero had a messed up life too. You could do Nero, but
see, now you're talking. And Nero was nowhere when Rome was burning. They say he's the one that lit the fire and he blamed it on the Christians. Away. Yep. He was at his villa on the other end of town, right?
He was in his estate in the woods.
Yeah. Yep.
And then he blamed the Christians for the fire, and that's when the huge persecution of them started.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what was I going to say? Oh, there's one scene in the movie. We were talking about historical accuracy. I think it holds up to actual what happened in real life, but towards the end, when Caligula was kind of going insane, he snapped, and on top of all the hedonism, he was bad with money before, and he was just he gave every citizen like 4 gold coins. I mean, the budget was gone. That's why I think the military decided to off him, because they just couldn't keep this up any longer. The Rome was going to just implode because of that. He was bad with money, but then he had to do a fundraiser. He was like, okay, well, shoot, I've spent all the money in Rome, so I got to do this. So he had this gigantic, like, not full scale boat. It was like twice as big as any boat that would actually be able to sail, but it was built inside the palace. And in the movie, it was this fundraiser where he hated the Senate, so he ordered all the senators' wives to come and be prostitutes for the night, and people could pay 5 gold coins to have, to just kind of like, hey, come sleep with the aristocracy. And so that was his fundraiser, and I think that does hold up. That really did happen in real life.
Yes, it did. He was known to walk into things like weddings or parties and just basically take someone's wife and violate her, take her out of the room and violate her, and then let her husband know that he violated her. That whole thing that he walked into a wedding and violated both the groom and the bride, that is also historically accurate. It's like prima nocta do you want to talk on about steroids. Like from Braveheart, prima nocta. It's like prima nocta on steroids.
Well, do you want to talk about that scene a little? That was if you're going to get shocked by this movie, that was the scene.
That was the scene. He first basically assaults the wife. Then
she was a virgin, and
she was a virgin.
Right. So he afterwards, I don't know how graphic I want to get with it, but he shows blood on his fingers, and yep, you were right, kind of deal.
Yep. Then he takes her groom. I don't know if he was a virgin. I'm sure he was a virgin in the way Caligula used him, but he basically makes him kneel down. I'm not sure exactly what he used. It must have been some kind of animal tallow, but he greased up the end, and then his whole hand with that ring.
With that giant ring on. So the word for that, I looked it up. It's called brachioproctic insertion. There's an actual name for it, brachioproctic. That means inserting the entire fist and arm into the anus.
Yep, and he withdrew it back. He had blood. The guy was screaming, and I don't imagine that guy ever forgot that. Ever.
Yeah, that's a hell of a winning night right there.
And then there was another scene where they had built this machine that had blades on it, and they buried people in their heads up to the sand, people that he wanted to get rid of. And they were like, it was like think of a rotary tiller going toward people, and it was just lopping off heads.
That couldn't be historical.
I don't think that's historically accurate, but he did kill people on that large scale.
Yeah.
But usually by throwing them to the lions or making them fight gladiators or something a little more entertaining than that.
If anything in the movie kind of triggered me a little bit, it was that scene. It's the same. I don't know what it is. I've talked about it before, I think, on your show, but the reason I stopped watching Walking Dead, the scene at the end of the season about Terminus, when they get to Terminus, the railroad station, and they're zip tied behind their backs, and they're bent forward over the horse trough, and they just go down the line cutting throats. Anything where anything where you're helpless and you know death's coming, it does something to me. It was hard to watch.
If you had watched the very next episode, you would have seen them escape.
That it messed me up good, boy. And then so this movie, they're buried, like Tracy said, they're buried up to their necks, and it's this big behemoth contraption. It's got the spinning blades at the bottom, just maybe 3 inches off the deck, and it's just going around lopping off heads. And then everyone in the crowd's throwing eggs and rotten fruit at them while they're getting their heads lopped off. Oh.
And that whole thing about him giving away money, he was noted historically to have climbed up to some of the temples and things like that and thrown gold coins down on the crowd. So that was pretty historically accurate. Like I said, in the early years, he was a man of in the early months, he was a man of the people. Then he was either attempted assassination or just got very ill and brought back demons with him. Let's just say that.
I've got a note here that so looking around at some of the older reviews when it first came out, and this, I guess the Motion Picture Association of America they tried to get the whole thing with the 135 extra minutes. They tried to get it into actual regular mainstream movie theaters. And I don't know what they were thinking. Of course, that got batted down. But once they pulled out what they could, and it was still very hard R. It's just basically they pulled out all the penetration, everything else, and all the orgasms, like on camera orgasms. But the reviews weren't as shocked about the graphic sex. And definitely not the violence was never talked about. It was the homosexuality. Yeah. The homosexuality they had a problem with more than anything. Yeah. It
wasn't because of that, but Roger Ebert, Siskel and Ebert, he evidently walked out of the theater and gave it like 0 stars and just said it was violence and gross sex for the sake of violence and gross sex.
Lighten up, guy.
Yeah.
It had a good storyline. And a guy like Caligula, if you're going to do gratuitous sex and violence, this was the movie for it.
He was a hedonist. That was his lifestyle.
Yes. It makes sense in the movie, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And, but yeah, it was a great movie. It's kind of a hot mess in a way, but it's kind of a hot mess in the same way that Rocky Horror Picture Show and Porky's is a hot mess, but we love it anyway. And it's entertaining, if that makes sense.
Well, movies like Porky's and Revenge of the Nerds, where like hidden spy cams and cutting holes in women's shower rooms. In the movie, it makes it look like, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. That's just kids being kids. So, and in actuality, those kind of movies seem worse to me than a movie like this that's just trying to give a historical picture, even though, it might be a little bit gratuitous here and there. But
I agree. Yeah. But, I still love all those movies. I was raised on those movies. So it's kind of there's some movies that are hot messes that you just like for whatever reason, because they're a classic to you.
Yep. Oh, and so the reviews were deprived, sexploitation, and trash. That was the big ones. Oh, and so it stayed banned until 2008. Yeah. The UK didn't start releasing it back again until 2008.
The UK has a history of banning lots of different movies. There's horror films over there that weren't shown for like 10 years. There's some of the Friday the 13th that were banned over there for 10 or 15 years.
Was it ever banned here, this movie?
I don't think so. There might have been some theaters that refused to show it, but no, it's never been banned. You could always get it on DVD. I don't know why streaming services won't carry it, but you could always get it on DVD or Blu-ray.
Restricted 18 or over.
Yep.
Restricted sale even. But I can see why Netflix might not want to stream. They don't stream porn. I mean, it's their policy.
But why, why not put it on like Vudu or Amazon and have you pay for it?
Amazon streaming. It seems like they should.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even the R-rated version is hard to find.
A hard copy of it. You cannot get this.
You can't stream even the R-rated
movie and uploads it. Yeah.
I don't think you can even stream the R-rated version.
No.
Yeah, that's weird.
There's even a PG-13 version, which I don't even want to see because what's the point?
What is it, like 7 minutes long?
It'd be like making Best Little Whorehouse in Texas PG-13.
You know what, Tracy? I don't think I've ever seen that. I don't think I've ever seen Best Little Whorehouse
Dolly
in Texas.
Parton, Burt Reynolds, Dom DeLuise. You need to see that.
That's who needed to get naked in her prime. Damn it! I kept hoping for that. It never happened.
She doesn't do full frontal, but she's in negligees and everything else. You need to go.
You know how many times Playboy and Penthouse? You know how much money they offered her, and she turned it down every time.
Yeah.
Damn it.
I know. I'm like, damn it. But then knowing Dolly, I mean, I don't know Dolly, but being raised in the South and being a lifelong country fan and having watched her on the Porter Wagner show, I can understand why she turned it down. She has standards. But in Best Little Whorehouse in Texas, she was in negligees, teddies.
Really?
So if you want to see it, yeah.
Well, I'll take what I can get. But, even now, what is she, like, pushing 80? She still looks great.
She's awesome. Looks awesome.
I know, right?
And she's just sweet. She has bought books for every child in Tennessee from the age of, like, 1 year up to 8 years old. Her reading club, they still send, like, 4 free books a month to children in elementary school. Every month.
Oh, wow.
All you have to do is sign up for it.
She still does that.
Still does that.
Does she still have that Confederate theme park though? what's it called? Dixieland or Dixie World or
I've never heard of that, but you mean Opryland?
no? No, she's
I don't
got her
think
own. Oh, it's Dollywood, isn't it?
Dollywood.
Dolly?
Yeah, it's
That's a
kind
theme
of
park, right?
yeah, it's basically Appalachian mixed with Hollywood. It's actually a really fun place if you haven't been there.
But it was all Confederate theme. If I remember,
It's not
back,
Confederate thing.
it's not. I'm
It's
probably
Appalachian. There's some
conflating two
Confederate
different
flags
theme
in
parks.
there. There's some Civil War
Ah,
rides, but it's
I
not
see.
Confederate thing.
Yeah, if I remember, maybe I'm conflating two different amusement parks, but I think they were trying to cancel her or get her to pull out all the, pull out all the Confederate flags or
No, there's
whatever.
like Civil War exhibits and stuff that have the
Yeah.
Confederate flag, but it's not, you know.
Well,
I
Six
have
Flags down
people
the
that live in
street.
my area. I have people of all colors that live in my area, and most of them have Confederate flags on their trucks. It doesn't mean the same thing here as people outside here try to conflate that it means.
I live right up the street from the original Six Flags, right? And you know
Mhm.
why it was called Six Flags? The original Six Flags over Texas
Why?
is because 6 different countries owned Texas.
Mhm.
Let me see if I can guess, if I can name them. France, Mexico, the Republic of Texas. We were our own country for like 15 years. United States, the Confederacy, and
Mhm.
I'm missing one. Oh,
Spain.
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 There you go. So the Confederacy, the actual Confederate flag is white with like a little something in the corner. It's that the stars and bars you see is the Virginia Confederate battle flag. The actual
Yeah.
flag of the Confederacy was white. And it
Yeah.
still flies over Six Flags over Texas to this day because it's part of the attraction.
And Alabama's flag, my home state, is based on it. It's just a white
Mhm.
background with a red X.
Yeah. What else, Tracy?
It's a great movie, y'all. Is it an accurate representation of Caligula? I'm going to give it a 60-40. A lot of it, I'm sure, is dramatized for effect, but it does follow the major timeline in his life. Like I said, he only ruled for 3.5 years, but yet we still remember him along with Nero because of his behavior and because of the things that went on in his reign. We would never have known who Caligula was if he was actually probably a decent emperor, had ruled longer with none of the hedonism. I think he would have just been a blip in history and would have been gone. But we know him because of his excess.
I'm assuming you rewatched it for this episode,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
I got a personal question to ask you. You don't have to answer it. Did you get through the entire movie without putting your hand down your pants?
Yes.
I cannot say the same. This if you're watching it just for the porn aspect of it, it's fucking hot. It's hot. There's great scenes in it, so it works for that too.
I was watching it purely for story. I kind of tuned the other out, but I'm not saying that it wasn't fun to watch, but I didn't go that far. I mean, that the opening scene where it's him and his sister, like, flailing around in the woods, that's my favorite scene of the movie. It's just so romantic and childlike, and and then it just takes a turn from there. That's my favorite scene.
I guess the senators' wives on that big ship, because that's when they got super graphic and, ooh, man, it was, yeah.
But you understand why the aristocracy took him out.
Exactly. So for those of you that haven't seen it, here's what you're in for. Multiple executions, necrophilia. Wait. Now let me put these in order. This was a single scene, an execution, then necrophilia, then golden showers, then castration, and then feeding what they cut off in the castration, the entire penis and testicles, feeding some to the dogs, and then the rest sent to the guy's fiance in a box. That was all just one scene.
Not for the faint of heart. But like I said, if you are into very graphic blood and sand Roman Empire movies, you will enjoy this. If you like erotic content, you will enjoy this. Yeah.
You picked the right guy to help you do this one. Yep.
But so many people talk about Peter O'Toole's performance as Tiberius. He wasn't in very much of the movie. I think he was gone by 30 minutes in, maybe even less than that. But he's very memorable.
Yeah.
He doesn't talk a lot about it. He never talked a lot about this movie, but
this one didn't win probably any awards, I'm guessing. But if someone did, that he would have been the one to win it.
Oh yeah, Malcolm McDowell
really
was
well.
Malcolm McDowell. He's Malcolm McDowell and everything. But
he was I forget the guy's name in Clockwork Orange. It was the same character.
Yeah,
the spoiled brat that can do whatever he wants and does not care whose ass he kicks.
Yeah, and Helen Mirren brought it. She did. And this is a kind of a weird segue, but I'm a huge fan of the Planet of the Apes movies. And I've often wondered how much this movie would have changed. Instead of Malcolm McDowell, they had Roddy McDowell. Because he's that same build. He's that same kind of English debutante, but he's also kind of, is he gay? Is he not gay?
Yes, it would have worked, I think.
I think it would have worked. It would have probably been better.
Are they are related, right? I know that's a dumb question.
I'm not sure. Let me look.
Roddy McDowell, Malcolm McDowell. They had the same eyes, though. I bet they're related.
But you understand why that comes to mind.
Yes, that would have worked.
Because he's also, is he gay? Is he not gay?
You're kind of ambiguous. Yeah. Do you like the new Mark Wahlberg Planet of the Apes?
The Mark Wahlberg one, no. But the one with the other three, the one with Andy Sudeikis as the ape. Yes, I love those. Right. Those are a phenomenal reboot.
Sudeikis. Andy Sudeikis is from Saturday Night Live. Are you thinking of Anthony? Is it Sarkis, the guy from Lord of the Rings? No.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the wrong guy.
Hang on.
Sarkis.
No, I don't think Roddy McDowell is related to Malcolm McDowell. It doesn't say here on his Wikipedia page.
They both have the kind of buggy eyes.
I think it's just the British thing.
Some inbred, something. Bad teeth. Sorry, British people. I'm just joking.
I have a lot of UK subscribers, and they're
so
nice
do I.
people.
Well, I used to until just now.
Let's see.
But all Americans are fat too, so you can rip on me too just as much.
Let's see, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
I like the Mark Wahlberg version.
It was okay. It wasn't my favorite.
Well, I like physics and quantum anything, string theory, and so I like the idea of
Andy Serkis. Yes, I got those confused. Yeah, but no, those are phenomenal. Those are phenomenal.
Oh, okay. Yeah, any sci-fi movie that has anything physics in it. Planet of the Apes. It deals with traveling close to the light speed, and how that dilates time, space-time. And so that's how, by the time he came back, he didn't age a bit, but the Earth had gotten so much more. That wasn't a time machine. That was him traveling close to the speed of light. And when he came back, that's why the Statue of Liberty was covered up covered up with sand on the beach. Because it dilated space-time. He didn't age, but the rest of the Earth went, millennia.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Now, the end of that Mark Wahlberg one, and it was actually directed by Tim Burton, but
that's right.
The ending, where he comes back to Earth and it's all been taken over by apes. To me, that was a more shocking ending than Charlton Heston finding the Statue of Liberty. To me.
Oh, the original, when you watched the original? Yeah. You're a little younger than me, but you might remember this. Did you ever have the Planet of the Apes action figures?
I did not. As a kid? I was born in 75. I think those were kind of off the market by the time
Yeah, probably. When I was a little guy, it was right around the time when you were still in diapers, but I had the tree house. It was and I had Cornelius, and I had all the people. I remember Cornelius as the blonde-haired orangutan lady, right?
No, that's Cornelius was the chimpanzee. Dr. 𝐲𝐽 was the orangutan.
Okay. I had them all, boy. I had the treehouse, I had the dude, and the spear, and the guns, and it had lasso and whip. It was the whole setup. It was
It's
awesome.
actually like, to me, maybe for October we'll do an episode on the original Planet of the Apes series and then the reboots.
Another dumb question. Malcolm, did Caligula come out before or after Clockwork Orange? After, right?
I believe it was after.
Because I think Clockwork Orange is 74, so that would be 5 years
71.
before.
So yes, this is about 8 years later.
8 years. Yeah, Clockwork Orange, like I said, my third favorite movie on earth. It's just awesome.
What's the first two? I know we probably talked about it.
Oh, The Matrix and First Blood.
Nice.
Yep.
Like Rambo, First Blood?
Yes.
Nice.
The book, so much better, but the original First Blood movie is... there's a bunch missing, you know. Of course, the book's going to cover more. The book was awesome. The movie was almost as good, and then from then on out, Rambo and all that crap that was trash. Yeah,
it would be hard for me to name my favorite movie of all time, but some of my favorites are Planet of the Apes, Rosemary's Baby, The Abyss, which was an old 1980s sci-fi with Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio and Ed Harris. It's kind of like Close Encounters, but it's under the sea. Really good.
Interesting. Oh, I'm writing it down. Guess what I'm watching tonight?
Yeah, it's awesome. You'll like that. Your wife will like that too.
Awesome.
And goodness, there's so many. I love Gone with the Wind. I love Casablanca. I'm a huge fan of Ma and Pa Kettle movies and Dagwood and Blondie. I'm like such a classic movie buff.
You're much more of a cinephile than I am. But, the ones I like, I really like. But I just don't have many I like. I don't have a lot of time. I'm editing videos too much. And I got hooked on
recording videos.
I got hooked on that Ozark series on Netflix. You like that?
I am. I'm about halfway through the last season, so don't
okay, I won't say anything. Yeah, I like it, and they ended it well, which is great.
Good. It's like The Sopranos, one of my all-time favorite shows.
Did you love it or hate the ending?
I hated it when it first happened, but now I look back on it, I think that I understand why they felt the need to do ambiguity.
It really wasn't that ambiguous, Tracy.
No, he's dead. He's dead.
I mean, the guy, the hitman walks into the bathroom and comes out and walks right up behind his entire family. I thought it was a work of art, how it just went to black. And everyone in America was just like standing there speechless for probably a full minute.
My roommate, when we watched it originally, my roommate stood up at the time and screamed, "Are you effing kidding me?" and walked out of the house.
You don't know art, man.
I went back and watched it like on DVR right away. I'm like, maybe it just glitched out,
I knew instantly. I was like, oh, perfection. I just thought
because it was all
best
Tony's point of view, and then when it cut to black, he's dead.
Perfection.
Yeah.
Now, July 11th starts the second half of the final season of Better Call Saul. So there's 6 more episodes left, and if those 6 episodes hold up, it will be better than Breaking Bad. That's me telling you officially.
I have not seen Better Call Saul. I've not watched any of it. I was a huge Breaking Bad fan, but
get started. If you can, the first 2, maybe 3 seasons are kind of slow, but they're still works of art. Once you get to season 4, just hang on, strap in, because it's the best TV in a decade. Easy.
All right. I will watch it. I trust you. I didn't like 𝐥𝐿𝐭'𝐬 that much, that movie they made after. I mean, it was okay. I'm kind of glad we got to see Jimmy, finish out and get away. Yeah.
It was hard for me to watch. Again, being held against your will and stuff being done to you, it's something about it. It gets me.
And his wife in Breaking Bad, she went from me liking her to I hated her by the end of that movie.
Right?
That show.
Yeah.
I'm like, you bitch,
Mm-hmm. Anything else about Caligula? Man, that was only 45 minutes. What were you planning on? How long were you planning on going? We kind of just ripped through that, didn't we?
Well, we did. I mean, it's really, sex, blood, violence. That's pretty much
when
it.
You get done editing, it'll probably be 20 minutes.
It's okay if it is.
Oh, but you can put little clips in
Yeah.
you know, yeah, like the spinning blades. I'm sure. Yeah, you could get away with putting like maybe 6 seconds worth of that, or different clips.
Absolutely.
It'd be funny if you put some of the porn on and then just blacked out all the head and cunnilingus and stuff.
I'll fix it up.
All right.
Well, all right, everyone. Thank you so much. Jim, as always, a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed this. Next week, we will be into the Catholic Church, Dark Ages through the Renaissance, and then all the offshoot videos from that, including the Borgias, Martin Luther, King Henry VIII. We will be looking at all of that. And until next time, Keto and Krime.